In British English, this is said as boy. Boy. In American English, however, it is normally said as buoy. Buoy. Boo-e. Buoy in American English versus boy in British English. And now you know it all.
Voices blending, melodies ascending, harmony in the air. Our songs are never ending. In the barbershop we create magic. Brad and John show, yeah. It's pure classic. No instruments needed, just our vocal range. Notes flying high, it's our musical exchange. Tracy's station may try, but they can't compete. Our barbershop style, it can't be beat. Oh, the harmony of voices, so sweet. In the barbershop of life, our tunes will repeat. No need for instruments, no need for a band. Just the Brad and John show, the finest in the land.
John Combest, October 24th. A week from tonight, it's Halloween. Can you believe that?
I can't believe it, Brad. I'm going dressed as a buoy.
Oh, boy.
Or as they say in England, blah.
That is John Combest, C-O-M-B-E-S-T. John, I know you ask me on the air from time to time, so I'm going to give you a quick health update. You ready for this?
I'm ready, yeah.
Knees are much better since I got off the muscle relaxer. Went to the optometrist, the ophthalmologist yesterday, and I have broken blood vessels and a scratched cornea from a cable tie that was, or zip tie, wrapped around my trash bag here at the office that impacted my eyeball. And I went to my other doctor yesterday, and I've got a problem with my handway.
You got a problem with your what?
My handway.
What's your henway?
About 3 pounds. I'm sorry.
Oh, you got me, Brad. I thought the henway was like some old decrepit skin wrapped around your prostate or something that you had to get removed.
If my kids...
The henway's good. You got me on that, Brad. I like that.
If my kids were listening right now, they would have gone, oh, here he goes. Because that's my...
That's a dad joke. I love it, Brad.
In the alternative, I went to the doctor yesterday, and he said I've got a problem with my MATA.
What's your motto?
Nothing. What's the motto with you, John?
Hey, forget about it, Brad.
Okay, I'm sorry, John.
Those are great, Brad. It's better to hear that than to hear one of your AI voices.
That is John Combest.
Could you get an AI bot to do some of your dad jokes?
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to use your AI voice to do my dad jokes. Hey, here's another John Combest funny time.
It's better than having a lunatic climb a transmission tower.
God, what a idea that is! I want to start using you to do jokes on the station here. Hey,
that would be terrific.
It's
Brad.
time for John Combest joke time. Okay,
it would be better than Ronald Reagan saying, "Well, I don't expect to exchange friendship rings."
Okay, and by the way,
if I hear that 5 more times, I'm going to go as crazy as Brad Hildebrand.
John Combest, thank you so much for what you did for the station by climbing 850 feet up the Channel 5 tower to promote the station.
Yeah, I know. Well, you had set up like an obstacle course, and you said, John, I'm going to send you 16 useless logos. And then you have to dive in there and find the one that actually says Westplex Talk 104.5 FM. And so I climbed up the tower and I dug through 17 completely useless AI slop logos. And then I found the one that could work. Thank you, Brad.
I sent you everything I had. I thought you.
Yeah, I'm giving you gratitude, Brad. Learn to take a compliment.
I sent you all the logo files. Okay, that's to be discussed later. That is John Combest, C-O-M-B-E-S-T. Every single day of his life for the past 24 years, he's put together this incredible site with all these different interesting stories about the state of Missouri. Now, what we do is we start the show off with this gentleman right here. And, oh, you know what? We forgot.
We have a group of guys that want to sing, Brad.
Oh, my God, I forgot about that. What am I doing? It must be, John, I think it's my Mata is bad. I think that's what it is. We bring in the Polka Boys.
Time for the John Combest Top 3.
And as I previously mentioned, John curates all the different stories on his johncombest.com site. And we bring in this fine gentleman. Your name, sir?
I'm Casey Kasem.
And what we do is we count them down and we start with...
In third place...
Do you want to ride in my Mercedes, boy? Tell me that you love me bunches. Do you want to ride in my Mercedes, boy? We just tell these white people we give in school lunches. Oh, we have a follow-up to the story of Connie Bobo. Not to be confused with Bobo the Clown. No, I'm talking about the urban philanthropist who ended up moving not far from our friend Shelley Barr. But I'm getting ahead of myself. This story is brought to us by Jacob Barker of the Post-Dispatch. A federal jury on Thursday found a former nonprofit leader accused of stealing millions from a food program for needy children guilty of fraud, identity theft, and obstruction of justice. Connie Bobo, who ran New Heights Community Resource Center for more than a decade, sat silently in the courtroom Thursday as the jury came out to deliver its verdict. Guilty on all counts the government had brought against her. After just 2 days of witness testimony, the jury found Bobo guilty of 3 counts of wire fraud, 1 count of identity theft, and 2 counts of obstruction for producing forged invoices in response to a grand jury subpoena. You and I discussed this case back on October 3rd, I believe it was, and that was when Miss Bobo blew up her plea deal. Oh, she was all ready to set to plead guilty, and then before the judge, she's like, I'm pleading guilty, but I ain't really guilty. Okay! And if you recall, the judge was like, well, that's not how it works. If you plead guilty, you can't say I plead guilty, but I'm not really guilty. So we covered that, I think, in detail 3 weeks ago. But here's more from Jacob's story here. Bobo was accused of seeking reimbursement from the state of Missouri for more than twice the amount of food the nonprofit actually purchased to distribute to low-income children and their families under a pair of federally funded food assistance programs. Now, Brad, I'll just pull out 2 nuggets from here. One of the things that blew up, so to speak, in Connie Bobo's face is that among the fake paperwork that she submitted, she claimed that one of her friends was doing a whole bunch of job training. Okay. And then when questioned, her friend was like, why are you guys asking me about this? I didn't do any job training. And then her name was Dacia Betts, by the way. And so, as it turns out, Ms. Bobo just used her friend's name, pretended that her friend was doing a whole bunch of work, and didn't even have the courtesy or maybe the forethought to tell her friend to lie. Hey, pal, I'm going to tell you you're doing a bunch of training, wink, wink, and we finna get paid. Okay. So I guess that's an important detail that Connie looked over. And let's not forget how we began this story, which is the beautiful song from 1988 by Pebbles. Do you want to ride in my Mercedes, boy? Connie bought her boyfriend a Mercedes-Benz G550 wagon, 4x4 squared. Boy, that's a lot of appendages, pardon the expression, to add on to a car title. It was only a little more than $200,000. So I guess if you're this gentleman, his name is Howard Hughes III. I wonder if he's any relation. If you're one of these gentlemen, all you got to do is just, maybe smack a little Bobo booty up, and you could get your own G-Wagon, Brad. So this story mercifully brought to an end. And as always, I'm going to pull a Brad Hildebrand here. Beat a dead horse. And I'm going to point out that the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, when then Governor Mike Parson had the audacity to say there might be fraud in the program, the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, those woke white boys said that it was, quote, nonsense to suspect that an urban nonprofit might ever be stealing money from pandemic funds. So let's close the book on this, Brad, put a little bow on it. Miss Bobo, Shelley Barr's sort of neighbor, she lost $1 million mansion in the deal. But guess what? Howard got a nice G-Wagon.
You know, the crazy thing about that is you started that story. I had my phone open to the Post-Dispatch, the website, and that picture of her house was there. And I looked at it again and I thought to myself, man, that is a nice house. And
I know, and you see in that picture, you can see her morning co-host Shelley Barr bringing a casserole over. Do you see that?
Yeah, that was when
She had
Shelley
a
was.
casserole dish. She's in the corner there.
That was when Shelley was part of the Welcome Wagon crew, which she was welcoming to the neighborhood. Okay, 2 observations on that, and you did get that correct, the G-Wagon. If you were going to go to your Mercedes dealership today, and chances are they don't have one in stock, but that is probably, except for like maybe the S-Class, that's probably the most expensive car that Mercedes-Benz sells retail in the United States. And if you don't know what it is, it looks like an old-school Army Jeep. It's very square, it's very boxy looking, but it's super expensive. What'd you say, $200,000?
Yeah, but let's not forget, it comes with more than 100,000 school lunches.
But
they're packed as like MRPs in the back.
Did they claw that back? Did they grab that back from him, or what was the deal on that? Do you know that's part of the story?
Yeah, they actually took it down to pick and pull. And Brad, you can pick out some of the best spark plugs if you want from there.
Okay, to refresh my memory, wasn't this also the woman who essentially declared that she had all these food kitchens around the area, and wasn't the Post-Dispatch or Channel 5 or one of them that went investigated, and most of them were like little hole in the wall kind of bars, like in not so good neighborhoods? Wasn't that the deal where she essentially said she was putting together these lunches for the kids? Wasn't that the deal?
She did have multiple locations, but Brad, there have been multiple examples of urban groups and nonprofits setting up essentially shell organizations. So you may be right about that. And in fact, I think you are with Connie. But there were other groups that claimed to have distribution locations, particularly even in North St. Louis County, that weren't actually real.
And some of them were empty lots. Wasn't that the story as well, too?
Yeah, I think so. And Brad, sometimes it's easy to confuse that with St. Louis Development Corporation and all the shadow grants that were given out there.
Okay, we're moving on. Number 2.
Up a notch to number 2.
We get some clarity on the North St. Louis City battery plant and the clawback of those federal grants, including an answer to a question you asked me that I didn't know the answer to. But I don't want to step on my own story here. Senator Eric Schmitt gave some clarity yesterday to that North St. Louis battery plant. You may recall, Brad, that the Trump administration says they were taking back $197 million. And I should use more specific words. They weren't taking back the money. They were just canceling the grant. And that was one of the questions you had, quite appropriately, about what happened to the money. Eric Schmitt said that ICL, that's the name of the Israeli company that was in line to get that grant, had missed some of their deadlines. Here's Schmidt's direct quote to the St. Louis Business Journal. I think hundreds of grant recipients are in the same boat where the promises that were made weren't being kept. The problem, I think, is when you're $100 million over budget and you're not meeting important deadlines, it's understandable that the federal government would have a lot of questions if they're sending you the money. And the Business Journal goes on to report that ICL first planned for a $400 million battery production facility in the Carondelet neighborhood in South St. Louis before pivoting construction plans and moving north up toward Hall Street and Adelaide, as we discussed. And then when they moved it up north, they upped the price tag, the total price tag, to $500 million. Now, Brad, one of the questions you had asked me was if this group actually got any money. Was there any money that the feds could take back? And the Business Journal reports that $8.2 million of the original $197 million grant has already been allocated to ICL. So as I read that, the company has already received $8.2 million, and I don't know if the feds are going to be able to actually claw that money back. And then finally on this, Brad, ICL has only responded through a regulatory filing where it said it would examine the continuation of the project, but told investors it would expect a write-off of $40 million if it doesn't move forward. So ICL is pretty tight-lipped about what they're going to do here.
Is this a publicly traded corporation, John?
They're not traded in the U.S. I'm not sure if they're I'm guessing they're traded on the Israeli market, because if they have a regulatory filing, I'm guessing that's part of being on the Israeli market.
Yeah, that's when you said that. I thought to myself, okay, they must be traded somewhere.
Yeah,
if they're doing regulatory filings.
And I know we're almost up against time here before we get to story number one. But Schmitt says that this has nothing to do with the government being tightwads. And he points to the fact that, hey, P.S., these are my words, not Senator Schmitt's. P.S., I just brought a ton of money back to Boeing. And if a company actually does the work that it says it's going to do and is able to prove it's actually meeting deadlines, then a private company can get a bunch of money. So Schmitt's just pointing out, look, also this company can go get private funding. They can get private financing. They don't need the state or the feds to chip in a bunch of money.
You know, John, what you don't realize is the real reason. I know the real reason why this.
Yeah? What's that, Brad?
The real reason why that the pick and pull people complained that this was going to make the neighborhood better, and some of the West County people who would never come down to that area might come down in their newer cars, which would just ruin the whole vibe of the area. So that's why.
Oh, it would ruin the whole thing. By the way, your son just texted. He wants to know if that Chevy Volt is still available out front, the pick and pull.
The Ford Flex that I fell in love with.
Ford
is still
Flex,
probably,
whatever it is.
Yeah, it's Ford
Some
Flex.
kind of car I wouldn't be caught dead driving.
Okay, ready for number one?
Yeah, let's do it, Brad.
Up a notch to number two.
Can you give us the number one intro, Brad? That was number two.
Oh, hold on a minute.
The number one.
Thank you, Brad. And you adjusted that level perfectly, by the way. It no longer blows out my eardrums.
Really?
Thank you. Brad, in your days, back when you had 4 kids under the roof, did you ever mediate disputes, or did you assign that task to your wife?
Hold on, I'm going to eat my Little Debbie. No, I mediated all sorts of stuff.
Okay. Well, you can probably, I wasn't sure, some dads are kind of limp wrist, milquetoast pansies, and just say, talk to your mom about it. And people wonder why women are displeased with men. I digress. Brad, you were kind of in the Mike Kehoe position then, because he has 2 folks that he knows and likes that are arguing, and he's doing his best to, not take sides, but be as fair as possible. This story is brought to us by Mark Zen. It's our number one story today. Mark Zen from Fox 2 St. Louis. Kehoe weighs in on spat between GOP lawmakers. We discussed earlier in the week the battle between Senator Josh Hawley and State Senator Cindy O'Loughlin. And Kehoe was asked about it. Mark Zen keeps his finger on the pulse of Missouri politics. He knows about these spats. And here's what Kehoe had to say. Talking about Hawley, I know his heart's in the right place. Boy, do I say that about Brad Hildebrand. When people ask me about you, Brad, I know his heart's in the right place. And Kehoe says that Senator Hawley is always trying to do the best to protect Missourians. He's well known for it. But Kehoe says that Hawley's actually misguided when it comes to the utility bill. And Kehoe says, I think if Hawley's folks were to look into the protections that we have on Senate Bill 4, that was the expansive, wide-ranging utility bill, they might find that we did a really good job of making sure that we weren't going to have the consumers again pay for this on their backs. And being the solid reporter that Mark Zen is, he ends with a quote from Hawley. I don't want to see our working people in the state footing the bill for some corporate entity that's coming in from out of state and sucking up our electricity. He's talking about data centers there. And Brad, I know we're up against time or overtime, but I think the surprising thing from Mark's story is that Hawley acknowledges that he doesn't know Cindy O'Loughlin. I don't know how you've been in Missouri politics for this long, and you don't have a relationship with somebody like a Cindy O'Loughlin. Now, Mark's a good reporter. I don't think he got that wrong. But Hawley says he doesn't know Cindy O'Loughlin at all. I don't know how that's possible. And if you're Josh Hawley's team, I don't know how you let your boss weigh in on these subjects without at least having a relationship with the person, not to mention maybe giving them a heads up. You see what I'm saying? Like, I guarantee you, Ann Wagner has a relationship with every state rep in her district that's a Republican. I guarantee you Jason Smith has a relationship. Bob Onder has a relationship with everybody in their district. I just don't know how Josh doesn't have a relationship with Cindy O'Loughlin.
I have to tell you something, John. I think he's really stepping in it lately. I mean, what you just talked about, and I know you were sort of kidding about sucking up our electricity with the data centers. You know, he's the guy that fought the Grapevine Express or the Grain Belt Express.
The Grain Belt Express.
Express. And on the other hand, what's one of the things that people are talking about now on a national scale? How bad our electric grid system is, how outdated it is, how it needs repair, it needs more redundancy. And yet, here's a company that wants to put in, a brand new transmission system, and he's against it. I don't quite understand where he's coming from on that.
Yeah, I think that probably if you're Hawley's team, both on the political side and the policy side, you have a pretty simple rubric, which is that if it's a big company, if it's Google or Amazon or Boeing or name the corporation, we probably want to be seen being critics of them because that polls a lot better than being supportive of big corporations.
I guess so, but by the same token, I told you that story I read, and I heard that a couple times in the various shows I listened to, talking about how the Chinese are going to essentially rule AI because they're saying, hey, need more power? We'll build more power plants for you. And here in the United States, you need more power? Go somewhere else. You know what I'm saying?
You want to disrupt power? Go climb a broadcast tower.
Right.
Congratulations to you, Brad. Because I saw it only took a few hours for you to fix KSKD and fixing it and putting back. Because I wasn't going to tell you about it. I was just going to shame you live on the air. But you actually fixed the title from KSKD, which was a typical Brad inattention to detail thing. And then you fixed it and you made it KSDK.
Okay, John, just one other thing, which once again, this frustrates the crap out of me with news, okay? Channel 4 on the KMOV website, they never mentioned what tower it was because it's their competition. So once again,
that's funny.
To the journalists, if you know what we're talking about, this guy climbed the Channel 5 tower and Channel 4, and it was a pretty big news story in the St. Louis area, and Channel 4 on their website had the same story, but they never mentioned it was KSDK Channel 5. They said it was a local broadcast transmission tower. See, this is my frustration because these people at Channel 4, we're journalists. Okay, well then tell us whose tower it was. Yes, it's your competition. Buck up.
Yeah.
Give them the damn credit because it drives me nuts. It's just, and this is...
Brad, when your old radio station days, if you were to do a charity event and another news outlet was to report on it, would they mention the name of the radio station?
No, they would never have done that. See, that's the whole problem. Okay, but, and a local radio station, yeah, right. See, this is the problem with the quote-unquote legacy media, and this is the problem with these goofballs that come out of the journalism schools and stuff like that. Oh, we will never talk about a competing radio station or competing TV station.
Does a rising tide sink all boats, or does it lift all boats?
John, it raises all boats. Okay, you're cutting into my Brad's Top 3 time, John. Okay. We have to move along.